Good evening and welcome to the Uplift, simple thoughts for complex times. If it's Friday, it's cocktails and conversations. If you're new to us, what we do is we've been going on a little journey with this wonderful book. It's called Cocktails, A Still Life, and it is authored by many people, all of whom are given shout outs in the description box or in the caption that you're watching this through. But my personal friend, Todd M. Casey, is the artist and painter of all the cocktails featured. Each week we vote between cocktails that are featured in the book, and this week's winner was a classic Manhattan. Now, I'm showing you the picture in the book. We're going to just read one snippet, so hang with me for a second. Nobody really knows when the first Manhattan was stirred or who decided it should be the city's namesake drink. The oft-told tale about it being created at New York's Manhattan Club on the order of Winston Churchill's mother, Jenny, turns out to be bunkum. But despite its lack of pedigree, cocktail historian Philip Green has called the Manhattan the first modern cocktail. Now, this is interesting, since it would inspire so many other minimalist 3 and 4 ingredient drinks. Who knew? So, what we're doing here is we're mixing whiskey, we're mixing bitters, 2 ounces of rye whiskey, 3/4 ounces of sweet vermouth, 2 dashes of bitters, a dash of orange bitters, and American maraschino cherries, which I have been told before I started recording this, be sure you don't use maraschino cherries. That's taking the cheap, short way out. Really get imported nice cherries. Well, I didn't, so we're going to have to deal. All of those ingredients in the book, what's great about this book is that it actually has like a little page that talks about the road to getting to the maraschino cherry from the imported versions, which some people could not afford. So that's a little telltale too. So after you mix all those ingredients, you're left with something that looks like this. This is one of my favorite glasses when we talk about honoring ourselves with good crystal, honoring ourselves with leveling up and treating ourselves that upper next step of what we deserve, not just slamming it into a red cup and chucking it down on the sofa. I love this because it's very elegant. It's a 5-ounce martini glass, which is why it is only filled halfway. So if I may, a personal message to Jen, who I know watches. This one's for you, Summer of Jen. Okay, so let's take a little trip. This is I had some people over yesterday and they were kidding around because I said, oh, I don't drink brown liquor, right? Because I'm vodka enthusiast, tequila enthusiast, and so was my friend Kathy who was over. That's a change. I was surprised that all of you voted for it with what it was up against. I see them more and more, and I see people really enjoying them when they do. So cheers to our Friday night. We are here on the 2nd of June, which is halfway through 2023. So tonight, I thought I was kind of juggling what topics to talk about tonight. And this past week, there was a lot of change that took place in the personal world I live with my friends, with my family, etc. And I started seeing the impact of change on people. And I started really questioning some points of change in my own life because I took this week off. And I've been cleaning out and looking at things through fresher, kind of lighter eyes, when you clean things out. And saying, it's time I changed this. It's time I changed that. And then the phone calls from my friends, associates, family started coming in. And a couple situations were upsetting to people because change had been forced upon them. And I thought it was a very timely topic. And I wanted to speak to those people indirectly. And I also wanted to speak to myself. And we could all use a discussion about something that most of us really aren't comfortable with. To me, and I've got a lot of notes, which is why I keep, because I don't want to forget anything. To me, there's a couple different ways that change can walk into your life. You can choose change, or it could be forced upon you. Those are the two majors that I think I want to circle around. When change is forced on you, true example, true story. My mother was married 3 times. She was a single mom. Okay. There was a lot of change in our universe. There was a lot of changing of households. There was a lot of changing of schools. There were a lot of changing of the people that we socialized with, the locations that we lived. And as a result of that occurring when I was a young child, I hate change. And I can clearly identify change as striking fear in me, as making me feel out of control of something, as if my voice has been silenced, my will has been squashed, because that's how I was introduced to a lot of the negative things that happened in my life, was through those changes of locale or school or whatever the case may be. That's forced change. That's kind of in my mindset. If you have a different idea of it, please leave it in the comments. Then there's the change that we choose, right? We choose our friends, we choose our partners, we choose where we live, we choose our jobs, our locations, et cetera, et cetera. Another true story example. My aunt had a very successful career in New York City. She partnered with a company that ended up relocating to a state in the middle of the country where she had never lived before. And she opted to move with them. I would never imagine doing that. And she did it outwardly. Be interesting to hear what her inward thoughts were. She did it outwardly with effervescence, with kind of drive, with looking forward to something, with challenging herself to going someplace. Very hard to be rural urban or middle of the country urban when you are used to being a diehard New Yorker, I could imagine, having been neither. To me, she was someone that embraced change. And I could never wrap my head around why she made that choice and how she dealt with it so easily. The other interesting thing is there's fun change. There's changing the way you dress, or changing your haircut, or changing the color of your walls, which I was thinking about doing. Some people in my inner circle always joke, there's something going on with Krista when she starts repainting a wall in a space or starts moving the furniture around. That kind of energy, that change tends to be something that people are a little bit more comfortable with. Some not. What I want to pose to you is it possible when we look at what we interpret as forced change, a change to your health that you weren't expecting, a change to your partnership, a change to your job situation that you did not opt in on, a change in friends, a dissolution of friendships, a change in your family. Is it possible to look at forced change through a different lens? I posed this, I'm saying this because I posed this question to 2 of the people that called me this week, who were in a forced change situation. And I said, is it possible that you outgrew or outlived your positive impact? And this force is really about doing something good for you and moving you toward what's waiting, because maybe you wouldn't budge without it. That kind of mindset, that kind of lens helped me personally accept things that happened to me that I didn't necessarily like or appreciate happening, changes that impacted me. A lot of resistance to change is ego, because we feel like we lose control, especially when it's forced on us. I have in my notes, are you someone that jumps into change or resists it? That's the first question to ask yourself. So answer that question now. I would be a resistor, okay, in most circumstances that are outside the fun ones, like repainting my wall. Examine why you might resist change. For most people, from what all of us can garner online, it usually has something to do with what? Fear, the unknown, being out of control. Those would be my top guesses. Do you lose your power when change is forced upon you? Does your ego take a hit, and that's why it's so painful? I don't know the answers to these things. I'm posing questions that I think we all might stop midway through the year and kind of answer for the work that I'm going to put forward to you. How about this summer identifying one thing you'd like to change? One very simple thing you'd like to put into action, you'd like to change by, let's say, Labor Day. What is that one thing? Ask yourself right now what that one thing is. On a simple scale, because what I want you to do is feel what I felt when I did this exercise, which is take control of something, command the steps to complete it, build the confidence, have the ego restored that this is by your design, your choice, your hand, and feel the impact of that small positive change in your psyche, in your mindset, in your life, in your day-to-day living. Is it always having fresh flowers this summer in the kitchen every week? That's what I'm talking about. Is it, I'm going to go to the beach more? Is it, I'm going to dress up on Friday nights to make it feel like I'm really walking into a weekend full of possibility and excitement and verve and energy and an experience? Is it your physicality? Is it your exercise routine? Is it joining something that maybe you were hesitant to join because you have a little bit of social anxiety? I think probably what I used to adapt to change throughout the years, but much later, this reference came much later in my life, of course, is Jerry Seinfeld's character on Seinfeld, but George. And George was going to be opposite George, no matter what. So in other words, George was going to take his initial response to something, the action that he would normally take, and he was going to be opposite George and take the opposite action. That's what helped me. Could you be opposite George this summer? Could you be opposite George, break through kind of the prisms that are encasing you, reach out beyond your anxiety, your fear, and do things that you ordinarily wouldn't find yourself doing because of your own personal blockades? I think that's a beautiful challenge for summer. I think looking at something small that you can change and see the impact on your daily life will be profound. I've had that personal experience myself, which is where we began with the Uplift when we talked about treating yourself next level, elevating and escalating your experience. Sorry, my earbud just came out. Elevating your experience to honor yourself first. It's not about others, it's about you, right? I'd like you to do that. I'd like you to think to be open to that. It could be more than one thing. I know some of you already are probably writing little things, design things, your wardrobe things, the color of your hair, your whatever it is, right? Walk more, go out on a boat more when you're invited, right? Someone asks you somewhere, your initial response might be, no, I don't know anybody there. I'm not going. Be opposite, George. Watch a magic that unfolds. The second thing I would like you to do, and this one's a little deeper and a little bigger because I want us to start small, is identify something you need, not want, you need to change by the end of 2023 or at the 6-month mark. This is a good little goalpost. Write it on the wall. What is it in your heart that you know must change that has a major impact on your life that you've been putting off? Write down what that need to change is and what the goal for changing it will be. So you got 2 assignments. Well, you've actually got 3. Answer the question, do you resist change or do you jump into it? Examine why, identify the emotions that are attached to each of those answers. Identify one simple thing you would like to change this summer. One simple thing, not the major thing. And then the third is identify something that you know in your soul needs to change. This goes beyond the color of your wall, right? We're going a little deeper. Needs to change by the end of this year. How are you going to get there? Work backwards. What steps do you need to take? What thought processes do you need to start to put into place? What actionable items do you need to list? I don't know what your major need is. It could be a relationship. It could be a job. It could be a location that you're not happy living in, being at. I think that poses some thoughtful questions for all of us to walk into this summer with. Our minds are always a little bit more laid back, June, July, August, right? This is the time to do the heavy lifting up here. When you're sitting on the beach, when you're listening to this vlog while you're driving, start to put these thought processes in place. Write it down in your notebook. Identify what's stopping you. Identify if it's fear of the unknown, or it's fear of being out of control, or you just don't think you can do it. Is it the money? Is it your ego? Is it somebody else's ego? That's what I'd like to focus on this weekend and for the many weeks that follow in the summer of 23. There are a lot of people that are watching this podcast who've reached out to me about or around this issue. And that's what made this come to life in this episode. So for those of you that reached out to me and you know who you are, put these things down in your notebook. I didn't buy the note. Get the notebook. Okay. Quote of the day. Life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change. The life that you want, that you were attracted to this podcast to find, the positivity you wanted to be connected to, the energy that you wanted to feel, the change of your mindset you were hoping for that brought you here, that life is within eyeshot. It's down the road in eyeshot. Carve the path to get there and make your little divots around the potholes. You can do this. We all can do this. We can level up. We can live larger. We can live out loud. And we can be happier with the time that we've been given. But it takes the work. and it takes the desire, and it takes identifying what's stopping you. So, with that being said, thank you for coming for the ride. I do so hope you stay for the journey. Until we meet on Sunday with a little recap and a little different thing to walk into the work week with, do the work, honor the simple, and look toward the sun. Please stay well. Cheers to a great weekend ahead. And I will see you on Sunday for the recap and the wrap up. Take care.